Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? All right, man. I want to give my opinion about that fight last night between Lopez and Lomachenko. Also talk about some heavyweight topics. No surprise there, right? Talking about the heavyweights. So I'm gonna wait till a few people get up in here, man. MMA champ was good. Chop it up about what we saw last night, man. Very entertaining fight. Um, we know that I'm a heavyweight fan, man, but whenever there's big fights like this going on, man, these other weight classes, not heavyweight, I definitely tune in and watch them, man. I think James was good, man. I think they got a very good thing going on right now, man, with fighters that are at and around that weight class. You know, from Lopez to Haney to Garcia and all them little small or smaller weight dudes, man. I think they got a great thing going on. Hopefully, they all fight each other and they don't let things marinate and build for too long. I know there's a lot of fans that, they should let the fight build, let the fight marinate, and all that type of shit, man. But I've never been a fan of that. I do understand the business of boxing and, both teams involved, both parties involved wanting, to get as much exposure as possible for, a potential fight. But I'm not a believer in building fights for, 5 years, man. That shit's just a waste of time. And things always don't go according to plan. There could be an upset that happens. Anything can happen. Injuries, anything can happen, man. So I'm not a big believer in let it build and let it marinate. I've never been a big fan of that. Mike Wilkins, what's good, man? MMA champ says Tiafimo, the first four belt undisputed lightweight champion. Yes, indeed. And I know there is. And let me just give my opinion about this, man, because I've been listening to a lot of people and just reading a lot of things about this whole undisputed. Devin Haney has the other strap. It's not really undisputed, so on and so forth. Here's my take on it. I think that the WBC is kind of taking a page out of the WBA's book. And what I mean by that is they pretty much took all the history and, or at least this is the understanding that I have. I'm thinking they're taking all the history and lineage away from the title that Haney has and gave it to the franchise status. That's what I think they're doing. And what I mean by they taking the page out of the WBA, remember guys, when they took the regular, just normal title, heavyweight title, and then they added the super champion. So like right now, the WBA, you have Anthony Joshua as the super champion. Then you have what's my man's name? Manuel Charles, the regular champion, and then you have Trevor Bryan, who's the interim champion. So what I'm saying is, I think that they kind of making their franchise built into the WBA's version of the super champion, and I do think the shit is coming off like the WBA, or not the WBA, but WBC was finding a way for Lomachenko to not have to fight or duck the fight with Devin Haney, whether he will win, lose, or draw. Like they ducked that fight so he can be in line to fight Lopez. My thing is, why not just have him keep kept the belt that you gave Haney now, so we won't have this confusion, and just gave Haney some type of money or some type of money and telling him that, hey, you guarantee get the winner, something like that, than just making up a whole new damn belt. Because to me, you know, Lomachenko didn't lose it in the ring against Devin Haney. But then it's weird, man. Then they get into another belt. So to me, it's kind of like the WBA super champion and the WBA regular champion. So the thing is, will they do this for every weight class now? So would there be some type of instance where Tyson Fury becomes a fucking, you know, franchise champion? Then they have the regular, WBC strap for some other guys to fight. I'm not sure. Then what happens? Let's say Haney and Lopez do fight each other. Does that consolidate both the belts? Would a guy have the WBC franchise title and the title that Haney? I mean, how would they do this? Will they eliminate one if you have both of them? Are they going to keep them both out there? We don't know what the hell WBC is doing right now, man. So, retros for life. What's good, bro? He says, salute. You're 100% on the point. No more build-ups. These boys got to fight in all division. Yes, sir. He says, not only they created a duck belt, but they've evolved on the belts, meaning 3 times now. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Dimitri Khan was good. Um, so yeah, man, just a lot of confusion with the title belts, man, which is kind of crazy. Um, but Really good fight last night, man. Before I get to what I thought about the actual fight last night, the Architect one was good. Before I get to what I thought about the fight last night between Loma and Lopez, I want a few more people to get up in here. I'm gonna just run down some little heavyweight stuff that I've been seeing over the last couple weeks, man. I see that Marit Gassiev is coming back October 31st to fight fucking Sefer Safiri. I would have much rather see Gassiev enter with a guy like Joey DeWeco, somebody that's going to test him, man. Neutral Natural was good, bro. Somebody's going to test him. And that was the initial fight that he had a while ago, but then um, I'm not sure what the reason was why Dweco and Gassiev did not happen. But that was going to be his fight, his introduction into heavyweight a while ago. But now it's going to be Sefer Safiri. You guys remember Sefer Safiri? He's the guy that allowed he's the guy that allowed Tyson Fury to pick him up like a damn like they're like saying they got married or some shit, like picked him up like the bride during their weigh-in or press conference. So you guys remember him from that. All right, he is also a cruiserweight that moved up to heavyweight when he fought Tyson Fury. I expect Gassiev to whoop his ass, man. Gassiev hasn't been in the ring for a very long time, though, man. Jay Petty, what's up, man? He hasn't been in the ring in a very long time, so curious to see what type of rust he has or how he'll look. Usually, Gassiev comes out there with the high guard, wants to walk you down and piece you up with power shots. You know what I mean? So we will see. I did see Nathan Gorman picked up a victory against Richard Lartey, 10 round. I think it was a 10 rounder. Was a 10 rounder? It was a decision. I'm not surprised he didn't stop him. I mean, Lartey at the very least can crack a little bit, right? He backed up Daniel Dubois when they fought with a left hook. Gorman went in there, got a workman's performance. What do I want to see from him now? Should a fight like with David Allen, something like that. But I think he still needs work, man. I don't think he'll be heavyweight champion, but I do think he could probably, work his way up to maybe the bottom half or the middle of the pack type of guy, But want to see more of him, man. Uh, Arslanbek Makhmadov, I did see his 6 second annihilation of Dylan Carmen. And usually Dylan Carmen goes in there and give you a tough little scrap, man. Um, I thought that fight could have went on a little bit longer than that. Dylan did get on his feet. To me, it looked like he was aware of what the referee was talking about. The ref wanted him to, give him his gloves. He did that. I think it was a premature stoppage, man. But I thought Makhmadov was going to get him out of there pretty early. And Makhmadov is knocking some of these guys out very quickly that I thought that it'd give him a run for his money, at least for up and coming prospect. All right. And he has another win like that over Jonathan Rice. And Rice is somebody that I'm going to bring up. Also, I've seen Christian Hammer and Dave Allen is added to the October 31st Usyk versus Chisora fight that I'm anticipating. Um, I'm gonna pick Christian Hammer, man. I think he's just a better fighter than Dave Allen overall. I think Dave Allen's highlight thus far of his career is the win over Lucas Brown, and him going deep into fights with Luis Ortiz, and I think he even had a decision loss to Dillian White. But he got pieced up by David Price pretty bad. I'm gonna pick Christian Hammer in this one, man. I know Hammer's an older guy. He's had some losses recently to Luis Ortiz and Povetkin. Went the distance with both of those guys, and it's ironic, right? Because after both of those fights, people are saying that Povetkin's old, even though they are older fighters. But he just looks old now, and blah blah blah. And Povetkin has went on to knock out Dillian White and had a very entertaining fight with Michael Hunter. Knocked out Johan Duipa, all those type of guys. Then uh, and then when Ortiz fought Hammer, people were saying, "Oh, Ortiz looks like crap." Blah blah blah. Hammer's a way tougher than Dave Allen, in my opinion, man. Because offensively, I think there's something there. He does have a good overhand right. I believe it was an overhand right that he used to knock out Michael Sprott. I had that as one of my KOs of the year a few years ago when Christian Hammer fought a old Michael Sprott. Um, but I think he'll be busier. I think he'll let his hands go a little bit more, and I think he'll be confident with his experience and the guys that he's been in there with and some of the success that he's had. I'll go with Christian Hammer in that fight, man. I think he's more offensively gifted than David Allen. All right, Dave Allen sometimes uh, gets disrespected if you don't hit him in his face. He's one of them type of dudes. Um, who else is on the docket that I've seen? Yes, there's some November heavyweight tussles. I believe these are still the dates. I see my man Luis King Kong Ortiz is back in action against Alexander Flores. I remember Flores, his fight he had with who did I see him fight? Seen him fight a couple dudes. Joseph Parker. And in that fight, man, he has to look. There's no way he's going to be able to fight Luis Ortiz the way he fought Parker, and Parker was able to get rid of him too. But you can't let your back touch the ropes, man. Um, Flores does have a decent skill set for a journeyman type of guy. He fights tall, wants to use the jab, the right hand, the left hook. But a lot of times, especially against a guy like a Parker or somebody like that, he'll let his back get against the ropes, man. And Luis Ortiz is the wrong guy that you want to be against the ropes again and let him just pick you apart. Because that dude is a very not only a hard puncher, he's very crafty and he's quick twitch with his punches, man. Even for an older guy, big heavyweight like that, very sneaky and crafty. And I see Luis Ortiz piecing him up, and I've seen people say, "Oh man, I don't like this fight. Why don't he fight somebody?" It's like you guys do forget sometimes, man. People have to want to get in there with him too. And I'm talking about Ortiz. It's not just Ortiz's fault all the time that he's not fighting the guys that you would like him to fight. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, Mr. Box, you saying these guys are scared of him? Look, I'm just saying people have to want to get in there with him as well. Not named Deontay Wilder. You know what I mean? It has to be somebody else that's willing and not always saying, oh, I need more time. They didn't give me enough money because when it was time for, and no disrespect, but I'm just being honest, when it was time for Andy Ruiz to get in there, he said it wasn't enough time. This is years ago. When it was time for Jarrell Miller to get in there, he said that the training camp was too short. When it was time for Dillian White to get in there, he had his shit that he was saying. We go so on and so forth, man. You know what I mean? But I can't wait to see Ortiz back in action. And speaking of Ruiz, I heard Ruiz and Ariola supposed to happen, man. So um, definitely want to see that. Then also see November 7th, you have Zhili Zhang taking on Devin Vargas. Vargas is kind of like Flores almost, but I seen Vargas. Speaking of Ruiz, I seen Devin Vargas fight Ruiz. Ruiz actually stopped him with the overhand right over a lazy jab that Vargas was keeping out there. It was just too slow, and he kept out there way too long. Boom. Ruiz, we know he has fast hands, came over the top, dropped him, got him up out of there. All right, so Zhili Zhang, I think he'll just be knocking off Rust in this type of fight. He's another one that hasn't been in the ring in a very long time. I believe Zhang is 20-0 with shit. I know he's 20-0. I forgot how many knockouts he has, top of my head. But I expect him, he's southpaw. I expect him to get Vargas out of there and try to look good in his yeah, it's gonna be his debut for Matchroom. You know what I mean? So, and look, don't be surprised if you see Eddie Hearn try to match Zhang up with AJ. I did a video. When did I do that video? I did it. Maybe it was a month after AJ beat Charles Martin. But I remember. But I have it here on YouTube. You can type in Mr. Boxing Today, Zhang, Joshua, Hearn. The video will pop up. But Hearn was talking about matching AJ with Zhang even then, because we know that Zhang and AJ fought in the Olympics, right? And Hearn has been talking about matching him with Zhang 4 years ago, believe it or not. You know what I mean? So, and then December 11th, you have Fa versus Parker. Finally, right? And I knew Parker was going to save this type of fight because at the time, when he had the belt, Fa was up and coming. No reason to fight Junior Fa in, but then Fa entered those WBO rankings a while ago, about over shit, close to what, a year and a half now, two years he's been in those WBO rankings. And we know that Parker is no longer the champion, right? A title holder. And I knew that push come to shove, um, somehow, some way, someday, that he would fight Fa, and it will most likely be after he wouldn't have the title, right? And this fight's coming to fruition just in that order. I think it's a good fight. Both these guys, they have some experience against each other. Fought, was it 4 times in the amateurs, 2-2, and I understand that Parker's a lot different fighter than he was back then, but so is Fa. Um, Fa has he has the height and reach and um, size advantage on Parker, but man, hopefully Parker fights like a bulldog in this fight. I like aggressive Joseph Parker. I don't like the back foot. And I understand you change your game plan up for, per fight. You know what I mean? I totally understand that. But I like when he's aggressive and letting his hands go, man. You know what I mean? But I'm curious to see what type of approach Parker takes to this fight. And Fa, you know, he can move a little bit. I remember watching him in the World Series of Boxing. He actually moved off the back foot for a big guy. I seen him doing some mint work with what's my man's name? Malik Scott. You know what I mean? Speaking of Malik Scott, and a lot of you been asking me this, man. Let me see what y'all talking about really quick. Renee Salcido was good. He says Devin Vargas never seemed to achieve his potential. Yeah, he was a good amateur too, man. Jay Petty said they just scared, just a fact. He said Flores is dog meat. Um, Let me see. Retros for Life says Ortiz got to pull up on fighters like Clubber Lang and Kimbo Slice in front of cameras and put pressure on all these opponents. His only chance. Yeah, he might have to, man. He might have to pull. I might have to pull what Tarver did to. Y'all remember when Tarver went to when Antonio Tarver went to the Roy Jones and John Ruiz uh, post fight presser. Man, Tarver went to that presser and pissed all over Roy Jones' moment. He was talking hella shit in the crowd, but hey, it worked for him, man, because he ended up proving why he went to those press conferences and got in Roy Jones' face. He actually proved it in the ring. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, Ortiz might have to revert to that, man, but he want to get on top of that soon, though. You know what I mean? Um, Renee Salcido says Joseph Parker cashed out against Anthony Joshua and turned in the top 5 worst heavyweight championship fight ever. Um, Let me talk about Wilder real quick, man, because I've been seeing a lot of videos, people even asking my questions about it. It's hard at this point, man. It's really hard to have any type of solid opinion based on like any type of factual information because I haven't heard nothing from Deontay Wilder at all. At all. Um, Let me see. Neutral Natural says Michael Hunter wasn't available versus Luis Ortiz. Hey, I think Hunter would take that fight. I'm not sure if it was offered to Hunter, bro. That's actually a good name that you brought up because he's a dark horse to me in the division. Michael Hunter, neutral natural. So I'm not sure if he was available or not. But there are some guys though, man. Whenever you know Luis Ortiz's name comes up, it always reverts back to not enough money, not enough time. I'm not going to be ready, that type of thing. But Hunter, if there is one person that I will put my money on that would take that fight, not named Deontay Wilder, is Michael Hunter. But anyways, yeah, back to Wilder, man. I haven't heard anything. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to just go off really anything. Um, I know he got rid of Mark Breland, and my thing is this, man. This isn't nothing out of the ordinary, right? Didn't Tyson Fury get rid of Davison for the rematch and hired, Sugar Hill for the Wilder fight? You know what I'm saying? So look, Oscar De La Hoya will run through a whole bunch of different type of trainers. You know what I'm saying? So this isn't nothing new to see a fighter make changes after a loss. It is kind of alarming just to not hear nothing from Wilder though. I know he came out with that one video saying, what do you say, the king has risen or the king will be back. I'm not talking about a video with you just making a statement. I'm talking about really sitting down and talking about everything that's transpired. What's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on that? Now, at first I was just saying, and this was like 2-3 months ago when I was saying this though, when I was saying, hey, the dude just got his head down, focusing on training, trying to stay out the media, and I still think that to a certain degree. But now it's like 2-3 months from when I said that, and it's like, damn, wow, you still ain't said shit. And this doesn't necessarily mean he's scared or it's just to not hear nothing though. It's like I don't really have an opinion on nothing because the dude ain't said nothing for me to have an opinion about. I do think it's kind of uncharacteristic. I will say that because usually Wilder is out there saying stuff. Now he did have something to say about the injustices that's going on right now with the police brutality. I gave him kudos for that because fuck up the sport of boxing. Just talking about real life as a black man here in America. I did respect that video that he came out with. But as far as the fight game, I haven't heard nothing from Deontay. And I did see the forgot this dude's YouTube channel, man. But there's a guy that has a video with Wilder at the shooting range, and I saw that. And I've never been into, curious to see these guys at the shooting range. You know what I'm saying? That's never been my thing. And I follow these guys on Instagram, man. And whenever I see like videos they post of them with their family, or at the shooting range, or at the bowling alley, or at the skating rink, or anywhere not boxing, I don't tend to watch those Instagram videos. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, man, just be good to hear from Wilder, man. And I heard they say something about the contract expired and all. I've never heard shit like that. This is my first time really hearing something like that. Then you would think with the pandemic going on, everything that got pushed back, where there's a reason. And then to me, before uh I heard Andre Ward said the date is coming going. Well, no, the date hasn't come and gone, bro. It's not even Halloween yet. That fight not supposed to take place in like December or something. So how can the date have came and gone yet when it hasn't came and gone yet? But I understand what the rebuttal is going to be. Oh, Mr. Boxing have to plan for it and make it official and things of that nature. But it's just really hard to have an opinion, man, when you don't hear from one side for shit. It's going on what 8, 9 months or something like that, 7 months or something, man. So it's hard to have an opinion. Only thing, but what I can say, but I do think it's a little bit funny though that him being so quiet is making some media members very pissed off because they can't get an interview with him. I do think that is kind of funny. But just as a fan, just being real with you though, man, I would like to hear from him, man. Just to get a feel for what the fuck is going on. Renee Sosito says Kimbo Slice needs a movie about his life. His impact on the MMA community is understated. I think just his impact on just coming like literally just coming off the street fighting, and just showing how you can transform, man, from that to even be able to make the UFC. So I do think a docu would be nice on Kimbo, man. And just as like I know he got kids and everything, I like to hear from his kids, if they're comfortable with being on camera and talking about it. But I think he had a son that's trying to fight. I believe I thought I saw that a couple years ago. So it would be nice to see a docu on him, man. And it's funny, the first YouTube video I ever watched was a Kimbo Slice video. Crazy, right? All because I'm a fan of the fight game. The fight game. Now I know what you're gonna say, Mr. Boxing. That's just no. I was all see. I was always a fan of just fighting, even when I was a kid, right? And this story is gonna go to the Kimbo story in a second. But when I was a kid, you always want to watch the fight after school between such shit. You may have been involved in the fight, but between such and such and such and such at the playground by the swing set at the basketball court, they're gonna fight, right? So I've always been curious about just fighting, period, right? Um, your friend, like I said, fighting on the football field or fighting at the basketball court or in the lunchroom or whatever like that, right? Even when I was a shorty and they would show like the K1 fighting, I was still intrigued with that. I was intrigued with movies like Bloodsport and all that type of shit, man. So somebody said, "Hey, man, there's a bum fight. These bums fighting, but this dude named Kimbo, like he's a good fighter." I'm like, damn, they recording bums fight. So somebody pulled up a website called YouTube. This is like '06, '07. Pull up a site called YouTube, and there was a bum fight, right? And quote bum fight with Kimbo fighting a dude named Big D, I think, in the backyard. And all I know is he just massacred this dude's eye, man. I remember Kimbo saying the dude tried to like touch hands. You know how you touch gloves? Like, let's have a good fight. Kimbo smacked his hand down and said, "Fuck that shit, let's run this." I was like, whoa, shit. And he commits to beat the shit out of Big D. Yeah. You know what I mean? Made his eye look like a pussy and everything, man. But uh and then I was looking like, man, this dude ain't no bum, man. Cause then the dude hopped in I think Kimbo hopped in a Hummer and had a big ass dookie rope. That's what we used to call them back in the 80s, on big old dookie ropes, like Run DMC and them and LL Cool J used to wear back in the day with a big ass fist on. I was like, yeah, this dude ain't no damn bum. But yeah, that was the first YouTube video that I ever seen, man, was Kimbo Slice fighting Big D. You know what I mean? D Styles Boxing was good, bro. He says, "Oh, two. All right, I'm gonna get to what I thought about Lomo and Lopez in 1 second, man. I was waiting for a few more people to get up in here. I'm gonna get to that, but let me answer D Style real quick. I think it's bullshit, man. Like you were saying yesterday in your video, now we're gonna have guys dehydrating and getting down to 220-24, and then coming in. This you guys just think of this. We're gonna have dehydrated heavyweights on the scale, right? And then balloon up to 250. It's just ridiculous, man. It's just another way for the WBC to try to create another division, get more sanctioning fees, and come up with 8 more titles. You know what I mean? There's just no need for it, man. Deontay Wilder, now I'm gonna use Deontay Wilder as an example because he's a smaller heavyweight when it comes to weight, right? He's not your 270-pound guy. He's a 218, 220 type guy, right? And his weight is right around the weight that Deontay's at. Deontay Wilder was knocking dudes out cold that weighed 250 pounds, 260 pounds, knocking them flat on their ass. You know what I'm saying? So why do we need to create another weight class? I just don't understand it, man. I really just don't get it. Um, it's just absurd, man. I really just have no words for it because it's just so absurd. I just don't even know where to start with it, man. But it's definitely something that we don't need. I'll just leave it short like that, D style. Something that we don't need. All right. Now, let me see. All right. Now, let me get to Lopez versus Lomachenko. Now, first, let me say this. I didn't do a video, right? But I was on, and he's here. Glad that D Style is here, but I was on D Style's channel on his live stream. I went to what's my man's name? G Funky. Went to his channel during his live stream, and I was saying that I think this young fella, his physicality, if Loma can't handle his physicality, man, he may get stopped late. So I was picking a late stoppage by Lopez. So this fight right here wasn't a surprise to me. And like I was trying to tell, man, and shouts out to Calix because he was on the panel with D Style. And I was trying to tell Calix that I just wasn't feeling this narrative of that Lomachenko's something we've never seen before. And Calix was talking about his accolades. And bro, I'm not talking about accolades. I'm not talking about 400 amateur fights. I'm not talking about accolades. When you tell me, a boxing fan of 35 plus years, going on 35 years, that uh, Lomachenko is something I've never seen before, you're lying to me. You're lying to me. Because now you're trying to tell my eyes that I didn't see Sweet Pea Whitaker. Now you're trying to tell my eyes that I didn't see Floyd Mayweather, that I didn't see Roy Jones, that I didn't see Hector Camacho. Mr. Boxing, what do you mean? When you tell me, or that I didn't see Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao, when you're telling me, oh, look at the angles and look at the footwork and look at the, like we've never seen that before, that's bullshit, man. And I hated that narrative. I just hated it. And I'm gonna be real with you. I know a lot of you not gonna like this, but I'm just being real, man. Whenever a white fighter can do the things that they're traditionally not doing regularly when they're in the ring, that gets more praise. I'm sorry, it's just been like that forever, man. So when they see him do these things, I've never seen that. Oh my God, holy shit! Look at Joe Rogan. This is the best I've ever seen in my life. Look at the foot movement in the head and rolling under punches. It's like, come on, man. You trying to tell me that you never seen somebody roll under a punch, go off over to an angle, step inside, slide back out a side door? You never seen that, really? Come on, stop it, man. Now, if you want to just talk about his accolades, we've never seen that. Fine, but don't say I've never seen a fighter move like him. That's bullshit. Because now you're shitting on all the fighters I just mentioned, and a whole bunch of other fighters that I didn't mention. Bullshit. Knock it off. Stop saying it. You know what I mean? And I didn't even bring up Ali. I didn't bring up Ray Robinson. I didn't bring up Charles Burley. You know what I mean? That's bullshit, man. Bullshit to the highest order. You know what I mean? I sit here, and before I get to what I thought about fight, man, I sit here and listen to commentary talk about how boring Floyd Mayweather was because he was doing those exact type of movements and defensive postures and making you miss and countering you and pop shotting you. It was boring when he did it, right? But now it's the best thing we've ever seen. I know a lot of you don't want to hear this, but it's just the facts, man. I've been watching this shit for way too long. This story has been told and regurgitated for way too long. You know what I mean? I think I seen my dad in the. Yeah, Dad. Shout out to my daddy up in here. Yes, Willie Pep as well, Dad. He was another one that can move and not get hit and win a whole round. At least that was told to us. He went to a whole round without getting punched. You know what I mean? So, BS. BS. Have you ever seen Jersey Joe Wolcott's foot movement? He has some of the best footwork I've ever seen of a fighter. Renee Boxing was good. Joe Gans was another one. Neutral Natural. There's a lot of guys, man. Rich H was good. Okay, so now let me get to the actual fight, man. Now, Bradley and Tim Bradley and Andre Ward were getting on my nerves yesterday with this whole. He's just downloading the information like he's a damn computer. Like, look, I get it when you say downloading information. I understand what they mean by it. They mean that he's kind of test to see what the other guy has, giving it a round or two to see, where the guy is lacking at. Okay, when he's throwing his jab, he's backing up in a straight line. Okay, when he's throwing his uppercut, he's leaving his left side open. I get what that means, boxing terms, but they kept saying it. I'm sitting here like, okay, while he's downloading information, Lopez is also downloading punches to his face and his body. That's what I kept thinking to myself, like, well, what about all the punches that Lopez is downloading to his body and his face? I thought the body work was excellent, man. And I think that was and that lets you know that Lopez had a plan. He came in there with a whole him and his team, him and his father came in there with a whole damn game plan, man. Um, and another thing to let me know that they studied is because whenever Lomachenko tried to do that little spin off to the side, as they call it, the angles. I noticed this. I think it was round one or round two, where when he first did the angle thing, Lopez angle right, he or pivoted right with him. Kind of like, oh, you're doing an angle, I'm gonna pivot right with you. He did it simultaneously, right? Like, nope, I already got that move down pat. Nope, you're not getting that off. And then he said, all right, do it again. Bop, here comes the uppercut. So not only was he angling off and pivoting with Lomachenko, he had an uppercut waiting for him too. Once he took that away, Lomachenko just looked normal. He looked normal. If you want to say he was downloading information, uh, fine. But he felt that power and he wasn't comfortable and he was trying to let the younger guy tire himself out. And I don't think Lomachenko was expecting Lopez to fight a measured fight like that. And shouts out to D-Stock because he brought up a point too that I was trying to make in the comment section during his live. But when you're in the chat section, it's hard to type everything that you think. Hold on, you guys. But yeah, Lomachenko was not comfortable at all in that fight, man. And then when Lomachenko, yeah, so he was banking on that Lopez going to slow himself down and get tired. But what he wasn't banking on, like I said, is for Lopez to fight a measured pace like that. He didn't come out there wild and aggressive. Yeah, but shouts out to D-Stock because D-Stock brought up something about what's that kid he fought? Forgive me, y'all. I can't remember all these guys' names. You guys know I'm a heavyweight guy, but Nakatani, is that his name? Bro, when people were saying, he couldn't do nothing to Nakatani. The dude's 6 feet tall. Lomachenko wasn't going to bring those type of problems to him. The reason why Lopez didn't look good in that fight because he was trying to adjust, and he did a great job of it. He adjusted on the fly to this guy's height, this guy's reach and range, and his awkwardness. That shit counts on fight night. You know what I mean? And people just, and like D-Style said, I'm giving this credit because I don't, like he said though, because the shit makes sense. We just assumed that Nakatani was a bum. Nobody knew shit about him, and a lot of you boxing fans, you do that, man. Because I sit here and talk about the heavyweights all day, and every guy's I be saying, hey man, I know you like this prospect, but this guy's gonna be tough. And you guys just automatically think it's a bum because of the record, or because you ain't never seen him fight before, or because you don't know how to pronounce the guy's name. Whatever reason you think the guy's a bum. But Nakatani, tough, obviously has a chin. He wasn't going to lay the fuck down. And that reach and that side, it was just a different dynamic that Lopez had to deal with. Lomachenko didn't bring them type of problems. You got right style make fights, right? Well, this is a whole different style, whole different dimensions and size, man. So, and I also thought that Lopez had that mindset of like, I'm fighting an old guy. Like, I'm not gonna let this old guy, be more physical than me. I'm not gonna let him rough me up. You can kind of tell he was fighting with that mindset. And then first let me say this: I had Lopez winning the first 7 rounds, and then I gave him the 12th for sure. So I had him at least winning 8 rounds. I thought the 119, 109 was out of pocket. I thought that was completely out of pocket. But I had it 8-4. But one thing I noticed that late in the fight, when Lomachenko, or early in the fight, when Lomachenko, according to Ward and Bradley, was downloading information, aka getting outboxed, getting kept on the outside with the jab. The quick hands were keeping him on the outside, and the quickness of Lopez was bothering Lomachenko as well. All right, but when he was downloading information, right, in quotes, when he was downloading information, um, whenever Loma tried to get aggressive, Lopez answered back. He didn't let him um, just bully him. And when he wanted to quote step on the gas, Lopez stepped on the gas back. So Lomachenko came with a 3-4 punch, little pot shot combination. Lopez came right back at him, scraping him to the body. That's one thing. That's another thing that I noticed. Because I've made some talking points, man. So let me get to everything. Lopez jab kept Loma at bay. Yeah, he kept him up, and I highlighted. I call it power boxing. When the guy's not coming out like Joe Frazier throwing everything at you, but he kind of boxing from a measured pace, but everything he's making it count. Jabs, right hand, left hook, keeping you in front, pivoting. When he does take a step back, it's just to take a step back to still keep you right there in range, but he's just moving a little bit to try to throw you off a little bit. He was doing all of that. And they kept giving credit to Lomachenko's footwork and movement, right? They kept giving him credit. He went to the Ukrainian dance school, right? He has great footwork. And don't get me wrong, I've seen videos of the Ukrainian dance schools, and you got to have some good footwork and movement, right? But you know what they never talked about? They never talked about Lopez and his American urban dance moves. I know y'all thinking Mr. Box has nothing to do with dance, but no, when they're talking about that footwork and dance school, I'm like, dude, have you seen Lopez dance? He doing all the new urban dances. You know what I'm saying? You got to have some good footwork to do them new low to do the new dances they doing, man. In every city in America, in Memphis and Brooklyn, New York, and Oakland, California, and Chicago, Illinois, and you know what I'm saying? All over the United States, there's young guys that can dance and move and got rhythm, and that's why uh it's kind of like when Rocky took or when Creed took Rocky to the black gym, right? And they moving and got footwork and look, bro, we've been doing that type of stuff. Lopez can match him and move like that. He can do that type of shit. So he wasn't gonna out move and groove Lopez. You ain't about to outdance no kid. Come on, man. So I thought the footwork was much closer than a lot of people thought. It's just a lot of fans are so enamored with the movement and angles and all that shit like they've never seen this before. Lopez can do the same thing, not just on offense, but also on defense, moving back, keeping him in front of him, keeping his hands moving. He can match him with that. And that's what he was able to do. So Lomachenko didn't have the advantage in that like he usually does. That fancy footwork shit, it wasn't surprising Lopez. And don't get me wrong. The rounds that I did give Lomachenko, it did look like his punches were taking effect on Lopez. There's a few times where I know if Lopez is going to go down, I was like, damn, is he going to, but then he fought back. And that's that energy. That's that youthfulness. That's that, as I like to call it, blind confidence, where you're just kind of fighting out of body. Lopez not in there thinking about his accolades and his 400 wins in amateur. He's not thinking about none of that shit. He's looking at, look, man, I have this man in front of me. I can beat him. Damn his accolades. I can beat him. I can match his hand speed. I can match his foot movement. I'm just as tough. I'm bigger. I'm stronger. I'm younger. That's what he brought into the ring. He didn't have a piece of paper in his pocket with the accolades saying, okay, well, you have, a 400 amateur fight. He wasn't thinking about none of that. Right? And the body work is what I think slowed Loma down a little bit, man. And that 12th round, man, Loma tried to turn it up on him. Lopez came right back. Right back. Good combination, starting from the body to the head. And that's what I think was able to get him his punches up top later in the fight, is that he set it up with the early body work. He was scraping Loma across the body. And that's something a lot of guys wouldn't do. They go head hunting for him and they miss, and he does that little angle off to the side thing, and then he looks like the Matrix. You start scraping that body up, keeping him in front of you, walking him down. If he does walk you down, put some heat on his ass to make him back up. He looks kind of normal. Normal at the elite level, all right? And not Joe Blow off the street, Larry Lunchmeat. You know what I mean? I'm talking about at the elite level, he looked kind of normal. Let me see here. Let me see what y'all talking about, man. That's pretty much what I seen last night in that fight, though. Let me see. My father left a message. Let me see what he said. Oh, my man, Body Snatch up in here was good, Vince. Renee Box Young was good. My dad said last night fight was old school 1970s where the best fought each other in their prime. This is what makes a great legendary fights. I respect both fighters for stepping up, no cherry picking their fights. Definitely a good step up fight for both of them. So I agree with you right there. That let me see. My man Vince said he had it 9-3. Neutral Natural said he had 117, 112 Lopez. Iceman Cummins says Loma underestimated the young lion and started too late. Well, bro, I don't think he underestimated. Well, no. I think he was trying to adjust to the power and the speed. So if you want to say that was underestimated, but I think it was the power, speed, and just the quick twitch fighting style of Lopez kind of was throwing Loma off a little bit. Then I thought Loma was like, all right, I'm just gonna turn it up on you. I'm gonna step to you and turn it up. Didn't work. So his plan A, B, and C, it just didn't work last night. It worked for a couple rounds. Renee Box Young says very smart to go to the body. Definitely. Jay Petty says he keep in front of him. Um, Let me see. Do you met vet? He says Loma was God a month ago, and y'all talking shit about him now. Loma's still the best. Even the best lose sometimes. Well, I'm not sure you're saying talking shit about him, bro. I'm just breaking down the fight. If breaking down the fight and saying how he lost 8-4 is talking shit, then I guess I'm talking shit. But I've never rated him God. I've never said that about him. And yes, the best do lose sometimes. I agree with you with that. Jay Petty says couldn't get the angles because the kid was too alert and composed and never got flustered. Did everything right. I agree. Renee Box Young says that Thizzle dance though. Ungar says Renee Box. Okay, talking to him. Um, yeah, retros, them damn Fortnite dances, man. I'm sitting there like, man, ain't no, they talking about. I was sitting there just watching all the build up shows. I'm like, man, they talking about, his dad taking him out of boxing for like what 8 or 9 years and putting him in a Ukrainian dance school to work on footwork. And there ain't nothing wrong with that, man. I remember Stephon Marbury, who used to hoop for the Timberwolves, used to play for us back in the day. Also played with Phoenix and who else played for the Knicks. But anyways, I remember one year when he was a rookie here. I think after his rookie season, he took ballet classes or some shit like that to work on his footwork. I remember people laughing. I'm like, look, man, having a great set of feet, just having great legs as an athlete, no matter what sport, is key. That shit's essential, man. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but yeah, with that said, though, I'm like, man, they're not giving Lopez enough credit for just the urban American dances. You know what I mean? It just what I'm saying is just having that footwork and that movement like that, man. They're underestimating his. Damn, right. My man Roger said Loma lost 12-0. Yo, man, I thought that 119 or 109 was out of pocket, man. I didn't have it no damn 11-1. Like, geez. I at least thought the dude won, I don't know, maybe 4 rounds or something like that, maybe four. But definitely didn't see no damn draw. I'm seeing people say draw. I mean, it is what it is, man. I definitely didn't see no damn draw. Bruce Gold was good, man. He says you can't give away the first 5 rounds and expect to pull a decision win. It's not likely. I agree. Unless you got like a one hitter quitter that bails you out 95% of the time, like a Deontay Wilder or some shit like that. But and that's one of my hits on Wilder, man. I think he gives away a lot of early rounds before he gets you up out of there. But sometimes that shit isn't gonna always work, man. Especially if you don't have like a like a 95% knockout percentage. Denise Wards, how you doing? Jay Petty says Loma lack heart, has the technique, but cause the guy had the power, he wouldn't take no chances. Sometimes you got to take them. You know what, Jay? I thought he took him after he thought he had Lopez softened up and when Lopez slowed down. Now, visually, it did look like he did slow down in those later rounds. The 12th round, I don't know, man, he found some. Lopez dug deep. He showed some heart in that one. And shit, Lomachenko showed heart too because he was going toe to toe with him. He's getting pieced up, but he went toe to toe. Um, but I think that he was waiting for Lopez to soften up a little bit, to slow down, not be as sharp with his reflexes, um, and try to take advantage of those moments. And he did in spots. In the rounds that I gave him, he did in spots. I can't remember exactly. It was, that round like 8, 9, 10, like those rounds, 11, like those rounds. He found his spots. But Lopez answered him back, man. And you can tell that Lomachenko, when he turned up the aggression, you can tell his body language kind of like, all right, I got this now. You want a few little 6, 7 rounds? Okay, I got it now. Now I'm going to take over. His body language showed that, but Lopez wasn't having it. Let me see. Ungar says Jay Petty, Loma showed plenty of heart. Yeah, I thought he showed heart too. He says he was outgunned by a much bigger guy. He didn't quit like Rigo when he went up against the bigger guy. He definitely didn't quit. He definitely didn't say uncle. He definitely didn't do that. But yeah, I thought Lomachenko showed heart, man. He just got outgunned, and Lopez is a guy. Now, again, you guys, I don't follow these guys as closely as I follow the heavyweights and all the heavyweight prospects and all that. So I believe, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Lopez pretty much turn pro at this very same weight he won his title at? So if that's the case, logically, and he's only 23, shit, he may not end his career until he gets to like welterweight or some shit like that. Whereas Lomachenko, this is probably the highest, this is probably the furthest he's going to get as far as being a top fighter of the weight division, right? Whereas Lopez is still growing as a man. And sometimes size does matter, man. I know we like to say size, yeah, but sometimes it does, especially when guys are kind of even when it comes to just who they are as fighters. I'm not talking about accolades. I'm talking about as fighters, man versus man, not accolade versus accolade, but just man versus man. When they're evenly matched and the other guy is bigger and stronger, that shit matters sometimes. It really does. Especially if you know how to use it to your advantage. Roger says Loma needs to move up and fight Bud to match what Mikey did. He ain't gonna fight no Crawford, man. You trying to get bro, Lomachenko's not gonna move to fight no Terrence Crawford. Don't even hold your breath, bro. Jay Petty says, he tried to step on the gas because he knew time was running out, but he felt those heavy hands and was scared. That's what I saw. Who starts fighting in the 7th? Well, there's a lot of guys that try to do that shit, man. In history, there's a lot of guys that would try to turn it up late in fights. You know what I mean? But to me, though, Jay, if he was scared, he wouldn't try to step on the gas at all. He just would have been comfortable with going 12. That to me would be scared. Like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to, even though I know I'm losing, I'm still not going to try to turn it up. I'm going to just stay safe and just say I went 12. You know what I mean? So we disagree on that. Unger says, okay, he's talking about Ray Leonard versus Hearns 1. Shit, man, I thought y'all talking about Ray and Hearns in that first one. I thought Hearns was just outboxing his ass. It wasn't so much, and Hearns did what Hearns always do. Hearns is my favorite non-heavyweight. He did what he always do. He starts to get tired down the stretch or midway through, or in a fight where he's using a lot of energy, he will start to get tired and fade. But a fresh Hearns is hard to beat. Man, a fresh Hearns is hard to beat. When he's snapping that damn jab and moving and coming with that straight fast right hand and coming back with that fast ass left hook and moving around and jabbing you upstairs and downstairs and just, boy, come on, man. Hearns was tough to deal with. But as soon as Tommy got a little winded, had to sit still a little bit, legs started doing a stanky leg, and just, you guys know how Thomas Hearns, a great fighter, used to, have his rough moments in fights. Then that's when he was beatable. And Ray had a lot of dog in him, man. Ray had a lot of dog. So if Ray sees that you're wilting anytime in a fight, he's going to go for the kill. Ray is not trying to keep you up in there and carry you. Now that second Hearns and Leonard fight, they robbed Hearns, man. They robbed Hearns. He dropped that man twice. And shit, Ray turned it up late. And what's so funny is Ray turned it up late in that fight. The second fight, Ray Danner was about to stop him again. You know what I mean? But Ernest, man, I think that you say Hearns was the boxer and Ray Leonard was the puncher in that fight. This is how I see it, Ernest. I think Hearns was a boxer puncher, and Ray was as I call it, I don't know if this at least this is a term I made up, a boxer fighter, right? Where he can box a little bit, but when he had to plant his feet, stand and trade to get you up off of him, he would do that. Not necessarily known as a big puncher, but he would sit down, plant his feet, and fight you the hell up off of him. Kind of like how Larry Holmes was, in my opinion. Um, Let me see here. My man Mala2243, what's good, bro? He says I scored at 116, 112 for Tia. He says Loma just started too slow. Yeah, he did. And I think that power, and like I said, I think that power, speed, and just quick twitch of Lopez was kind of throwing him off, and it made him a little reluctant. And he was trying to find other ways in. I just think he was trying to find other way. I think he was trying to find an angle and the proper time to move in real quick and spin off to the side. It just wasn't there. He was looking for things that just wasn't there. And if he did see him, if it did look like there was a window of opportunity there, the window of opportunity was very short. That's what it at least looked like for me. Um, MMA champs up in here. My man Jay Petty says you don't want to look like no punk though, and corner telling you to step on it. Even if you try to take him in the deep rounds and drown him, you got to at least be active. I agree. Loke, I ain't seen you in a minute. He says Loke says every time Loma take an angle, Teal upset that with a step back and pivot, Teal show heart in late rounds and finish the 12th round. I agree, Loke, and that's what I was saying when I first started breaking down the fight. As soon as Loma tried that shit, uh, literally from round one, I think it was round one or two, maybe it was round one where Loma tried that angle thing and Lopez pivoted right with him. Like it was like simultaneous. It was like he did it right with him. And that right there kind of set the tone of, nah, I got that trick. I know those tricks. Lopez kind of looked at him like, nah, I know those tricks, man. You're not gonna get me with that step off to the side pivot shit. And as the fight went on, he said, you know what? Here, take this uppercut with you. Because then he started throwing that uppercut when Loma would do that as well. So it wasn't just not the pivoting. It was also he was not only pivoting with them, he was throwing something back at his ass as well to make him to put in his head that not only am I going to match you with the pivoting and turning and all that, I'm gonna throw a fucking uppercut that's gonna surprise you too. Let me see here. Bruce goes, he says Emmanuel Stewart turned Hearns into a puncher, showing him to sit down on his punches. He didn't have tons of KOs in the amateurs. Um, Speaking of him in the amateurs, also seen an amateur fight of Hearns that he has with the Hawk. Um, Man, I cannot believe I forgot this man's name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But I seen that fight on YouTube as well. Aaron Pryor. How the hell did I forget Aaron Pryor's name? But Aaron Pryor. But there was one thing Emmanuel was great at. That was getting you sitting down in your punch, especially if you're the bigger, taller man in that weight division. He was great at getting you to sit down on punches and turning into your shots, man. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Unger, I thought that Stewart was his. I thought he raised Hearns from a pup, as far as in the boxing world. So I thought he was with him as well when he was an amateur, because he fought off the crunk. Let me see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Is what I saw as a fight, man. Let me see what y'all talking about though. My man Ernest Terry says, "Do you think the title fight should be 13 rounds to reduce the risk of disputed draws?" Now, look, bro. If we're not gonna go to full 15, like the 80s and 70s, if we're not gonna do that, I just say keep it at 12. Because with 13, bro, I know what you're saying, but then you're gonna have a judge that say, "Oh, I scored this round 9-9." You know what I mean? Then there's gonna be judges doing that type of shit too. So let's say there's a round where both guys get knocked down or some shit, or you know, I just think, man, whether it's 13 rounds, they'll find another way to screw that up too. But shit, sometimes, bro, in some fights, and this is why, like back in the days, why those fights used to go like 70 rounds, and you know, like back in the 20s and all that, and the tens, you know, 1910s when the fights should go like, you know, 30 rounds and 40, because that was the objective to for there to be a winner at the end of this fight, whether it goes 100 rounds or 1 round, there has to be a winner. Now, since we're not in those days no more, I'm okay with draws because sometimes in the 12 rounder, bro, some guys do fight evenly. And sometimes you're just forced to give a guy a round because you know just forced to score. But really, it's like, man, then both of these motherfuckers really didn't do nothing. There's been a lot of fights I've seen like that where I'm sitting there trying to score the fight. Even when since I've been on YouTube since 2010, I'll be scoring fights. I'll get like to the eighth round, like, man, I don't even want to score this no more. Like it's literally nothing. They're both doing a whole bunch of nothing. I'm trying to think of a fight like that, man, that I've did a post fight to here on YouTube. Damn, I'm trying to think of one, man. I'm sure when I end this live, I'll look through my videos and I'll see one. But I've seen plenty of fights, man, where I'm like, it gets around 9. I'm like, dude, both of these ain't doing shit. They're just posturing and pot shotting and hitting each other's gloves, and that's it. So I think some rounds should be fucking draws, man. It should be 10-10 some or 9-9. I don't. I'm not a big believer in you have to give it to somebody. I don't know, man. I think if it's a draw, if you really don't see guys doing much or nothing, or it's just a slugfest where it's just slug, like literally going rock 'em, sock 'em, and they're literally taking and receiving the same shots and reacting the same, that shit could be a draw. Jay Petty says after losing first 4 rounds, he says got say forget his power and start getting active. At least let him fly. Judges watching. Only thing make you start that late seventh is fear of the power coming back at you. Chloa says draw. Neutral Natural says I thought the seventh round was 10-10. Chloe says Crawford versus Brook. I got Crawford in that one, man. I think his speed is going to give Brook problems. And I think if he tries to get up close to Brook and try to, you know, fight him shoulder to shoulder in like a phone booth type fight, I think that'd be Brook's best chance because it will have Crawford right there in front of him. But I think Crawford's going to mix it up on him. I think he'll switch righty to lefty, in and out, circling, better athlete, better hands move. You know, I think he's going to bother Brook. I think he's going to outclass him, man, with a variety of different looks. Jim Petty says, Mr. Boxing says, you think Ortiz going to get another title shot somehow? Because we know ain't nobody signing up for that smoke. Nah, man. I think unless Ortiz gets into one of these title elimination bouts where they, you know, put him in an elimination bout and then have the winner of his elimination bout fight another guy, and then the winner of that fights for the title. I don't see nobody voluntarily saying, "Hey, let me fight Luis Ortiz. Let me defend my title against him." Not name Wilder. I just don't see it. Um, so Jay, I think the only way he gets another title shot, bro, is if the IBF, WBA, WBO put him in a title elimination fight. And for a lot of guys say he's so old and he's so this and he ain't fought nobody, they sure as hell don't want to get in there with him. And Neutral Natural made a good point too. That he had 2 shots at the title. And like I said, man, and I would want to see him in a title elimination bout as well, just to give it that sense of working your way back up, because the guy did have 2 title shots in the last couple of years, so not like he's being blackballed, from the sport and nobody's giving him a shot. At least Wilder was able to give him 2 shots, had 2 cracks at it, and fought well. So I thought he was winning the first fight, and I gave him the first 6 rounds of the second fight. And I'm so pissed. I went to that second fight, y'all. I was there, man, and I was so close to making a bet for Wilder's 7th round KO and didn't fucking bet on it. Didn't bet on it. But let me see. Crawford. Close says Crawford got exposed in his last fight. Exposed like how? Neutral Natural says Crawford stopped his last opponent in the 9th round. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Cole. I mean, people throw this exposed word around a lot, man. I mean, how was he exposed? What, did he lose a round in your opinion? Did he lose a couple rounds? How exactly was he exposed? When you say that, like, what do you mean? Cole says Wilder was cheated. Cheated in what fight? In what fight was he cheated in? He says both Fury fights. Well, I think I know where you're going with that. I'll say this, man. I know people talk about glove gate and well, I'm not gonna put that. I'm not gonna put those words in your mouth. But what I'm saying is this: I watched, like, I picked Wilder in both fights. Um, I'm going to say this, man. If they fight a third time, I'm pulling for Deontay Wilder to win against Tyson Fury. I think the favorite is going to be Tyson Fury. And out of the 19 rounds that they have fought each other, I've given Fury 13 or 14 of those rounds. Um, you say he was cheated the first fight. I'm not sure. You got to be more specific what you're talking about when you say he was cheated. Like, cheated in what way? Neutral Natural says how he got exposed. He fought a hard puncher who was undefeated that had a good game plan. Ungar says Crawford will destroy him to the body early and then go to town. So you think he's gonna just slow his ass down, get him stagnant, get him, you know, take the mustard away from them legs, and then beat him up from there. Um, Quo says, how did he get that much power overnight? You talking about Tyson Fury? It's a good question because I didn't think he's gonna come in there and look like Joe Frazier or George Foreman either, bro. But what I will say is this: his game plan was a lot different. I think his game plan threw Deontay Wilder off, and I don't give a damn what his KO percentage is. If you're 270 pounds and you're punching a guy that's 230 pounds in his face very hard, he's probably gonna get hurt. Yeah, I think he's gonna get hurt. You know what I mean? And I know I'm being sarcastic, but what I'm saying is, man, Tyson Fury is still an elite 270-pound man in front of you. You dig what I'm saying? He outweighs Wilder by a lot, and just his physicality could give Wilder problems because as far as weight goes, he's a much smaller guy. And I pretty much said the way to beat Deontay Wilder is kind of like the way, well, at least in my opinion, I thought the way to beat him is kind of like the way that Johann Duhaupas fought against him. And to me, Tyson Fury fought an elite version of the way Duhaupas was fighting Wilder. How was that, Mr. Boxer? By stepping to him, not giving him time to get that long right hand off, making him fight a left hook, right hook, short punch fight instead of a long jab, long right hand type of fight. If you get Wilder in a long jab, long right hand type of fight, you're gonna get decapitated, man. You want to get up in his chest, make him fight a left hook, right hook, like smother him. Make him throw those type of punches. Doesn't mean I'm not saying he doesn't punch hard when he punches like that, but to me, he's much more dangerous when he has that when he has room. Duhaupas was able to get in his chest, even swallow up Wilder's eyes. Now Wilder was whooping his ass on the inside, but Duhaupas ain't no Tyson Fury on the inside. And Fury is comfortable fighting like that. He's comfortable grabbing and mauling and leaning and putting you in headlocks and throwing you. He likes that shit. He fought, and I always just say Fury went back when Fury had hair on his head. That's how he used to fight against the McDermotts and the Nikolai Furtas and all that. That's how he used to fight. When Cunningham dropped his ass with that right hand, Fury got up and started doing what? Mauling, grabbing, breathing on him, putting his elbow on his neck against the ropes, shooting uppercuts while he's rabbit punching, that type of shit. Wilder wasn't ready for that, bro. I think that shit caught him off guard. Right when the bell rang, Fury sprinted over to Wilder. I saw that. I was like, damn, either he's rushing to get knocked out or he figured something out. Now, if you want to say, oh, because of the gloves, okay, that's your opinion. But I'm just saying the way Fury fought him, man, was just all wrong. Let me see here. Jay Petty says Ortiz looked amazing in those title fights, but that Thor Hammer Wilder just got nobody else beating him. Credit to Wilder though. Yeah, man. And Jay, when I was there, bro, because I went to that fight, man. It just happened like it was just so quick. Because I'm literally sitting there in the section I'm sitting in. We are all sitting there like, man, Luis Ortiz is winning this fight pretty easily. Like Wilder's not doing much. Boom! It was that fast. Over. Literally. Like that's literally how it went. Um, Quote says, ever since Wilder, his people been fighting for 400 years. I know they was gonna cheat him. They hate people who speak up for they people. Well, not see now, bro. That's a different topic, bro. Like as far as Wilder speaking up and, uh, you know, being an unapologetic black man, that's a whole different topic. And that's one of the reasons why I like Deontay Wilder outside of the ring. Some fans I converse with think that's a big hoax that Wilder is just putting on the front and the act. I really think Wilder is like that. And that's one thing I respect about him. You know what I mean? And that the way that he fights for his kids and his family, there's a lot of different things I like about Wilder. That's one of the things I like about him. But bro, I'm just talking about stylistically. I'm not talking about his standing up for black justice and all that. Him going on a march. I remember a few years ago, I put a video up of Wilder in Chicago. Uh, was in a march, was a part of a march because of the gun violence. I even think he spoke as well too. But bro, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about style versus style, man versus man in the ring. You know what I mean? I'm just keeping it there, bro. And I just think Tyson Fury just has his number, man. And I'm pulling for Wilder. I want Wilder to win this third fight. I want Wilder to win. But bro, just watching these 19 rounds, it just seems like Fury has his number. That's just what I think. But Ernest Terry says the Floyd generation thinks fighters have to win every round, otherwise they're exposed, even if they win by KO and they're undefeated, one loss setters. Yeah, yeah. We're in the protect your O era. You know, yeah, man, I gotta take a drink to that. It's just, yeah, we're just in that protect your O era, man. The protect your O era. Quote says they say they spike Wilder's water. Nah, I don't believe that shit. But that's me. Who spiked it? You know what? And if that was a reason of concern, then I guess Wilder would know what to do going into his next fight as far as preparation with water and anything else, looking over the gloves or anything else. But to me, I don't believe in no that he got his water spiked, man. I think that's kind of a stretch. I think that's some stretch Armstrong shit right there, man. Mana2243 says Wilder is one dimensional, Fury is multi-dimensional. That is what gives Fury the edge. And he's just fucking crazy. He's just crazy, man. Like, how many dudes you know that just go and run right up to, like, run after Deontay Wilder? Like, he has some craziness in him as well. And I think that helps to his advantage. Um, Fury's fucking crazy, man. That dude is crazy. Like, that dude is really clinically crazy, man. Uh, but it makes him have no fear. And sometimes you can use that to your advantage when you're just crazy like that, man, and you're willing to, you know, uh, put yourself in situations where, you might not come out on top, like the way Fury does, like going into the Klitschko fight and all the antics that he was doing leading up to the fight, even in the ring with Klitschko taking his time. I mean, that's just Tyson Fury, man. Let me see. And Wilder's dimension, if you say he's one dimensional, he's really great at that one dimension. It's one thing to be one dimensional, then there's another thing to be great at that dimension that you're, that you have. You know what I mean? And Wilder is shit historically one of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division that I've seen. So, but Fury, like like you were saying, he's multifaceted, Mala, and he can do a variety of things, man. To where he might not go down historically as a hard puncher like Wilder. Well, only thing Fury needs to be is powerful on fight night against Wilder. As long as Wilder can't contend with the power, that's all Fury needs to worry about. And quote, like you, and I don't like the triangle theory, but let me just give you this. Now you're saying how well Ortiz hit him, and he didn't get hurt by Ortiz, but Fury hit him. Okay, well, bro, that's like saying. Let me think of an example. That's like saying, That would be like saying now, okay, now when we look at the heavyweights, right, and we look at hardest punchers of all time, I've never heard nobody say that they think Riddick Bowe punched harder than Mike Tyson, right? But hey, if you were to look at the Evander Holyfield fights, it looked like Riddick Bowe can punch harder than Mike Tyson, right? Because Holyfield, because Tyson didn't come close to dropping Holyfield, whereas Riddick Bowe stopped him, bust him up, dropped him. You know what I'm saying? In their three fights, you get what I'm trying to say here. So I'm just saying, bro, it's because it didn't work. You know, just because this guy didn't react that the way that this guy reacted and all that, that shit don't matter, man. It's just styles make fights. To me, I think Holyfield just had a harder time dealing with that long range power and those uppercuts he didn't see coming. You know what I mean? Versus a Mike Tyson wants to get right up on him. Holyfield can make Mike smother his own work and take off some of the power from them punches. Whereas Riddick Bowe has more leverage and he's just longer and bigger. You know what I mean? It caused other problems. So what I'm saying is this, man. Triangle theory doesn't work. Bruce Gold says Ali Nor. Yep, same thing with Ali, Norton, and Foreman. Shit, some people believe that Ali never beat Norton in a fight. Some people think that Norton won all those fights. I know it goes down as Ali won that series 2-1, but there's some fans that really think Norton won all three of those fights, right? Broke Ali's jaw and everything. At the least, though, man, I think they should have gave Norton at least 2-1. That last fight, Norton won that fight, man. And y'all know Ali, Holmes, and Foreman are my three favorite fighters. I thought Ali lost that fight. Another fight that Ali didn't look good was the Jimmy Young fight as well. I thought Ali was getting very frustrated that Jimmy Young was damn near out Aliing Ali, making him miss and slipping and countering him. You know what I mean? So, um, then you put Foreman in the ring with Norton and he blows him out. You know what I'm saying? So Sniper 11 ND says Fury was always like that. I remember the press conference with Hay, the fight that didn't. He says the fight that didn't win. Oh, the fight that didn't go through. Mr. Boxing. That press conference is hilarious. Fury. Yeah, it is, man. And even his one against the first presser when he was getting ready to fight Klitschko, when he dressed up like Batman, then he had somebody dressed up like Robin, and he tackled him. Then I remember the presser he had with Cunningham. Did he? I think he flipped the table over. Was it that one with Cunningham? Then the Chisora presser was crazy. Even the presser, even though this fight didn't happen, like you said, the Hay, but even the presser with the Klitschko rematch did never happen. Remember when Fury took his shirt off and started fat shaming himself and smacking his stomach? Look how out of shape I am. You lost to an out of shape man, and Fury's nuts, man. One minute you'll think this motherfucker's the lowest self-esteem person you could come across, and then the next minute, this dude really think he's God. Like this dude is so up and down in his thinking. Toby the Tank says, could old George have beaten Tyson? Yes. Yes. Bro, look, around that time when Mike was getting ready to fight Buster Douglas and they're talking about him fighting Foreman before or after. I know Holyfield was the number one contender for Mike, but man, I think Foreman would have knocked Mike Tyson out. Like that 90, 89, 91, pre or post Tyson losing to Douglas, I'm picking Big George. Ain't no way in the world Mike Tyson about to walk down Big George Foreman to get him up out of there. And Mike wasn't, especially them late 80s, 90, he wasn't trying to motherfucking win win a decision. He's trying to knock you the hell out. George Foreman wants you to come to him like that. He wants you to come. He don't want you moving away, putting a jab in his face the way Tommy Morrison was able to do, or obviously Ali and Young and guys like that. But I'm talking about when he came back after his comeback. Morrison had success because he was moving, sticking and moving. Evander Holyfield had success because he was sticking and moving. When Evander got in fucked up situations because he was trying to stand in front of Big George, what Mike gonna do? Stand in front of Big George and get uppercut to death. The death of 1,000 uppercuts, man. Big George would have uppercut Mike Tyson's head off. The first round would have been intriguing because once Foreman would have backed his ass up and made Mike think again, man, who knows what Mike would have done, would have reverted to. And Mike was hittable. Especially after Rooney and them left, he was hittable, man. Go look at that Razor Ruddock fight. It would have been similar to Razor Ruddock with Foreman winning. That's what I think. That's what I think. That's what I think. Marcus was good, man. Cole says, "What's next for Loma, bro?" I have no idea. Cole, I'm really a heavyweight guy, man, but I do like watching the smaller weights. I'm not sure what Lomachenko's going to do. To tell you the truth. But I like to see him fight again, of course. Shit, man, that the whole thing they got going on there with them guys with Tank and Loma and what's the little boy? What's that little boy name? The little boy that dance all the time. What's that little boy name? Ryan Garcia. Uh, all them, man. That whole little, weights and all that between them little divisions. I like what they got going on down there. I really do. So if Loma get in there with somebody like that, I would love it, man. You say Loma should fight the winner out of Tank and Leo. Hmm. Shit, I still wouldn't mind seeing Loma fight Devin Haney. Although Devin Haney's getting ready to fight Gamboa, and the most logical thing to do would be able to put Haney, if he beats Gamboa, in there with Lopez, right? That'd be the logical thing to do, especially for us fans. But I think Loma name is still relevant, and I still think people will favor him in a lot of fights against guys. So I think, I'll definitely want to see him again. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Loma vs. Tank. Shit, that's a good one too. Bruce Gold says they both avoided each other for real. You think so, man? You think Mike Angel? Now, Bruce, I know what you're gonna say. I've heard because Foreman, man, Foreman is one of the most generous all-time greats of all time. That dude think everybody's better than him. He think everybody punches harder than him. He think that's one thing about Big George, man, is he gives props to a lot of people. Even sometimes was like, come on, Big George, you would have knocked that motherfucker head off. But Bruce, don't tell me what George then said. Can't say Mr. Boxing, but George said that he wanted no parts of Mike Tyson. Yes, I did see that interview he had on ESPN with Matt Cup. Bro, I don't believe Big George, man. I just don't believe everything because he gives people way too many props, man. He just does. You said you heard it from both. You heard it from him himself. Yeah, but look, okay. So when that Ring magazine article or edition came out, you remember the Ring? I forgot what I think it was like 91. I forget the exact year it came out, but it's the Ring where it's like a cartoon of Foreman and Mike Tyson on the front cover, right? And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think in that Ring edition, it was talking about how Don King pretty much was keeping Mike away from George Foreman, if my memory serves me correct. But man, count on George Foreman to give his opinion about these fighters, man, or at least how he stacks up. He's always going to say that he would lose or the other guy was stronger. That's one thing I noticed from Big George over the years, man. Like, damn, George, you don't think you would have beat nobody? Like, shit, man. Toby the Tank says George not scared of anyone. I don't believe. Quote says Errol Spence would beat Crawford. Yo, man. Now, a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, Mr. Boxing, what about Vinny Pazienza when he was in an accident, and what about this guy when he was in an accident? He came back to do this and that and blah 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 blah." Look, man, getting ejected from your car, I don't give a fuck what the doctors say, and I'm not a doctor, but getting ejected from your car, it's just hard for me to believe like there's just nothing wrong. Now, a miracle happened. Errol Spence survived. Fuck boxing. A miracle happened to where Errol Spence survived, man. So just credit to that man is still breathing, walking, and talking. All right. Damn boxing. I'm talking about just as a man and just having life. All right. So I will say that. But when you get teeth removed from your skull because of a high impact accident, man, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the pictures of him after the accident, he was in the hospital. And man, I'm so happy that man made it through that, man. Lucky, and I know what they're saying in sparring, and I don't think Derek James would put him in harm's way if he doesn't look right in sparring. But I'm talking about in a real all-out fight with no headgear and that type of shit. I just want to see what Spence looks like. Now, if this is the Spence that I seen before his accident, he's going to beat the shit out of Danny Garcia. You know what I mean? Based on Danny's heart and the way Danny likes to fight, and he doesn't back down from a scrap, and he's not a pussy in there, I think that may get him knocked out because Spence going to bring it to him. But then Spence have showed that he can fight off the back foot a little bit, but I don't think he can back foot it the way that he was doing against the other guards, and Mikey. You know what I mean? I think that Danny's a little bit bigger and stronger than Mikey, and that left hook is something that you have to be aware of, and you have to, be alert because he sets it up. You know, Danny isn't. He's not going to wow you with speed and wow. He's just solid at pretty much everything. He's like solid at it. You know what I mean? He's solid at all those categories. So, but I want to see what Errol looks like, man. Props to Errol for taking such a fight like this. I think that Spence definitely is not taking no type of tune up, and I gotta respect him for that. You know what I mean? Definitely respect him for taking this type of fight. Bruce Gold says George Foreman said it as an HBO commentator, and Tyson said it on the Arsenio Hall show. Um, yeah, Bruce, but I think in that article though, man, if I'm not mistaken, in Ring, I think it was Don King. But whatever, it don't matter now, right, bro? We just gonna be arguing to argue because the fight ain't gonna happen, you know. But I think my money would have been on Big George though, man. My money would have been on Big George. Uh, Quote says Crawford hasn't fought anybody. Brooke finna be his biggest test. See, man, people say he ain't fought nobody. See, man, I'm not a big believer in people ain't fought nobody. Man, like, look, bro, you can't go undisputed at a weight division and say you never fought nobody. Now, if you want to argue that the 140 weight division wasn't at its best, that it's been shit now or in previous eras or something like that, well, okay. But to say he ain't fought nobody and you went undisputed at a whole damn weight class, nah, that's bullshit, bro. We not doing that. We're not doing that, man. Now, if you want to say the 147 division has way more talent and looks tougher than that 140 weight class that Crawford was at, stuff like that, then we can argue that. But say that he fought nobody, well, them dudes were at least, at the very least, title holders, and he went in there and he cleaned up the division, man. Look, I always give credit to guys that clean up their division. Whether you think the division is garbage, whether you think historically it doesn't compare to other eras, that's fine. But what's factual is he cleaned up the division. You know what I mean? So definitely gotta give him credit for that, man. Um, and I understand you probably don't want to give him credit for beating Amir Khan. I mean, how much credit are we gonna keep giving guys for beating Amir Khan, right? Um, I definitely want to see Crawford step up and fight some other notable welterweights. I think Brook, although he's been beat by Spence and Triple G beat him up at middleweight, it's still a decent fight, right? But yes, I want to see Crawford fight the Terrence Crawfords and the Errol Spence Juniors and the Danny Garcias and so on and so forth. Hey, I like that one kid, man. What's that kid name? Boots, Jarris Boots Ennis. And that kid got some talent, man. I want to see what he looks like in the next year or two. I want to see what Ennis looks like in there. Let me see here. Bruce Gold says, "Cool, bro. I'd have went for George too." Yeah, I just think stylistically, man, it just would have been all bad. Marcus says Rivas or Lucas Brown. Definitely not no damn Luke. If you're asking me, Marcus, who I think that Fury should fight if he doesn't fight Wilder in the third fight, I'm gonna go. I definitely want to go with Lucas Brown. I'll go with Oscar Rivas, man. I think he's a much more dangerous fighter. I think he's a much more deserving fighter because shit, he went tooth and nail with Dillian White in a fight that people thought he should have got the decision. Some people thought he gave away some of the earlier rounds, but he dropped White. I mean, Rivas was tough, and I knew Rivas was going to be tough before the fight started. Lucas Brown, man, that dude's just all right. Lucas Brown, just based on the last couple of years, should not get this damn fight. Uh, he got knocked out by Dave Allen with a damn body shot. Dillian White highlight reel knocked him out, and a fight that he won that I thought he lost against Kamil Sokolowski. You know what I'm saying? So Kamil Sokolowski, bro, go watch Lucas Brown versus Kamil Sokolowski, and y'all tell me who y'all think won that fight. And that's one of his more recent fights, right? And then the knockout losses to Dave Allen and Dillian White. Hell no. And I see Lucas Brown on Instagram training and hitting the bag in his garage and at the gym. Man, I was following him on Instagram before the White fight. I'm like, look, man, Lucas Brown in shape. He gonna give White some hell. Until I seen the weigh-in, until I seen what he looks like on fight night with his damn belly hanging over his trunks. Hell no, man. I seen Lucas Brown came out with a post like the last month saying that he's contracted to fight on Showtime towards the end of the year. They're talking about him possibly fighting Dave Apti Dave Tayev, who is in actually Tyson Fury camp right now. He's an undefeated heavyweight. I think he's like 20-0 with 19 knockouts or something like that. But Lucas Brown said he's contracted to fight him or Otto Wallen towards the end of the year on Showtime. So I think Lucas Brown is good in one of those type of fights. Hey, Lucas Brown, how about you give Dempsey McKean a challenge? You know what I mean? How about let Dempsey McKean fight you? Both you guys are from Australia. Dempsey McKean is 18-0, Australian heavyweight. Give him a shot. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of Dempsey McKean, he called out F.A. Ajagba. Uh, and I know why he did it, right? Dempsey McKean called out F.A. Ajagba because of the way F.A. Ajagba looked at his last fight against Jonathan Rice, went tooth and nail with Rice, whereas Dempsey McKean actually stopped Jonathan Rice. You know what I mean? But Rice was giving McKean some hell. It wasn't like it was some first round, he blew him out the water. He was giving McKean some hell. But I would pick a Jagba to beat McKean. I think a Jagba is being matched well for an up and coming prospect who's kind of working his way up. Look, guys, I know you guys look at some of these people's names and records. You don't think, but I'm talking about when you break them down by style, what they look like facing other high class up and coming prospects, how they extend the fight, how they know how to survive, how they can make it tough. I think a Jagba's been placed in there very well against Rodney Hernandez. Yes, I've seen Rodney Hernandez stopped and beat up in a fight like when he fought Jared Anderson. But Hernandez has also made it tough for a lot of other guys. Ali Demarizen against the Jagba was a good fight. Demarizen was a fellow Olympian himself who was undefeated going into the fight with the Jagba. He wasn't going to make it easy. And style-wise, he was all bad for a Jagba, right? Ducking, moving, coming forward, letting his hands go. The Mir Mansour fight was a good win for a Jagba. I know Mansour's old, but shit, he was a pretty, decent fighter, old fighter for this era. Jonathan Rice, right? And then the fight with Lago Kalazi where Jagba got dropped. Kalazi, even his losses to Kawanaki, I think Hunter is the only one to really dominate him. But even his loss to, there's some other guys that Kalazi have fought. They got names where Kalazi was winning the first couple rounds based on his movement and his punch output, right? But who knows, man? If Dempsey McKean can take a Jagba punch and, maybe can catch a Jagba late. Who knows? I kind of went off on a tangent there, man. But let me see. Ernest Terry says Fury busy 2021. 2 AJ fights. Mando Wilder 35 next year. Don't see a third fight. Strange things happen. Upsets Foreman Young. When George had an Ali rematch. Norton Shavers. When Ken had a Holmes rematch. Yes, indeed. Jimmy Young. I come up, yo. Jimmy Young bamboozled Foreman that night, man. Even dropped his ass too. And that's what made Big George call it quits for about 10 years, man. Said he seen God in the locker room. You know what I'm saying? Always thought Jimmy Young, you guys haven't checked out my top 20 heavyweights of the 1970s, please go check that out, man. I came up with a list where I have my top 20 of the 1970s, man. I think Jimmy Young's very underrated boxer, man. Just historically. Very underrated. Very underrated. My man Mala, he says George has huge power and an 8-inch reach advantage, plus a great jab. He could have dominated from the outside. Tyson would have come forward taking big risk every time. Huge risk every time, Mala. Huge risk. Huge risk. Because Mike would have to sell out to land his shots, which means standing right in front of Big George. And that's all George wanted you to do is stand right there. That's what he needed Michael Moore to do. Hey, man, stop moving. Just stand right there for this right hand. You know what I'm saying? And you can't discount Big George's jab, too, because he had one of the better jabs. Yes, it wasn't the flicking from the wrist or, flicking from the hip jab like Ali and Holmes, but it was very thudding and hard, and he meant it when he threw it. Kind of like how Sonny Liston was. Marcus says, "Wash." Oh, I think you're talking about Lucas Brown. Yeah, Lucas Brown to go sit his ass down somewhere. Man, I seen them talking about Lucas Brown's a possibility. I'm like, huh? He ain't even Yo, even if it's a voluntary fight, your voluntary at least got to be in the top 15, right? WBC. At least that's what I thought. Or unless you end up magically going to give Lucas Brown a top 15 ranking. You know what I'm saying? Which I've seen him do that shit. I love Deontay Wilder. Watch him as if he's my favorite heavyweight to watch. But I seen him do that shit with Wilder, man, when he fought Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola wasn't even in the top 15. They signed that fight out of nowhere. Chris Arreola was rated number 7. I remember doing a video on that. People called me a Wilder hater. Are you just hating? Like, nah, man, this is bullshit. Chris Arreola ain't even in the top 15, and just out of nowhere, he's number 7. And I think up until that point, the last time I seen Chris was in the tooth and nail fight against Curtis Harper on a PBC that could have went either way, and then he had a damn draw, or did he win a majority decision? But anyway, the fight he had against Kaufman. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, come on, man, how the hell we giving Chris? And shout out to Chris, man. He's a first person to give me a drop on my channel. But I'm just keeping it 100 though, man. Like Chris didn't deserve that fight, and I understand the reason why they fought Chris, but I'm just saying though. To me, Chris is more deserving of the fight than Lucas Brown. But that's not really saying much. But Quo says Loma was robbed. How was he robbed, bro? Now, if you're going to say the scorecards was that 119 and 109, oh, okay. The right man won, though. Yes, I think 119 to 109 was way out of pocket. But the right man won. Lopez won that fight to me, bro, 8-4. At the very, so... If you think he was robbed, my thing would be, how did he get robbed? If you're just talking about the 119, 109 score, like I said, I thought that was completely out of pocket. Mala says, okay, he's talking to Quo. Bruce Gold says, okay. Let me see. Quo says, White versus Alexander Povetkin 2. Man, I think Povetkin's going to knock his ass out. I'm looking at Dillian White on his Instagram. I'm looking at his training clips. I'm seeing a lot of punching a heavy bag. I'm seeing a lot of what's that little machine called when you're pumping your legs and your arms at the same time in the upper position. He's on that the little mountain climber thing. I'm seeing all that, right? I ain't seen not, as my grandma would say, not nan one of a clip of him moving his head, getting out of the way of an uppercut, defensive drills. I'm not saying he's not working on it. I'm just saying I would like to see some clips of that. But I think Dillian White, from the outside looking in, man, it seems like Dillian White has the mindset of, I'm just going to train hard. I'm doing everything hard, hit the bag hard, run hard. Oh, hopefully he's working on the right thing, and that's moving his damn head and coming up with a game plan to how to avoid Povetkin on the inside. You know what, one thing that Evander Holyfield, now we're talking about these older fighters, what Evander Holyfield was great at, the way he was able to nullify Mike Tyson when he got on the inside. Guess what he did? He didn't try to just outfight Mike. Nah, guess what he did? Well, one of the things he did was bring Dave Toole in for a sparring partner. That sparring clip's actually up on YouTube. If you guys didn't know, Toole versus Holyfield back in 96, 97. But one thing he did in the Tyson fight was, guess what he did to nullify that left hook? Just guess. Evander just wrapped up his left arm. That's all he did. That's all he did. He just vice gripped, wrapped up Mike's left arm, didn't give him a chance to throw that motherfucker. Majority of the time. Made him smother his own work. So hopefully White can implement that, something where he's mentally, where like he's using his mind in his fight, man. It is not just, I'm going to train super hard, hit the bag, just train, and no technical fundamental adjustments. Hold that left arm on the inside. When you guys wrap up, walk Povetkin backwards. You know what I mean? Be okay with just using your jab and moving around. Everything, you know what I'm saying? Shit, you might not be able to knock Povetkin out. I know AJ was able to do it, but he was the only motherfucker able to do it. Klitschko couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? But I just think based on Styles and Dillian's mindset, the way he likes to get into rumbles and, tussles like that, he's going to get drawn into a tussle, man. And I think Povetkin's the quicker puncher, the sharper puncher. I think he's more polished. Even though he's the older guy, and I usually pick the younger guys in this fight, but when they're not familiar with each other, these guys are familiar with each other. They're acclimated to each other. Povetkin knows he can take White's best shot and still get up. Now White can go with the confidence of, hey, I can put this guy down, but Povetkin can put you out, literally. So I'm gonna go with Povetkin, man. And I thought this fight was coming around a little bit quicker than it should, in my opinion. Now I know back in the day, right? Back in the day, Ray Robinson to fucking fight Jake LaMotta, literally, literally weekend to weekend, right? Or 2, 3 weeks out away from each other. I understand that, but we're in a new era, new safety measures and all that type of shit, man. So I think this is a very quick fight for Dillian White to get back into against the same guy. And people saying, oh, but he got knocked out against AJ and came back strong. Yeah, but y'all are leaving out the fact that he took a lot of time off, and before he got back in there with somebody that mattered, he had a couple fights. I forgot all the little guys he fought, but he had a few fights before he got back in there with somebody tough. He didn't just get back in there tough 2 months later. And that's pretty much what he's doing here. Is getting right back in there tough with the same guy that rendered him unconscious 2 months, whatever, 2.5 months later. I like the heart. I like the ambition. I'm just not. I think his pride may get him hurt, man. But we will see. We will see. Um, Damn, Bruce, for real, I haven't looked at the WBC rankings in a while. Please tell me that you're lying to me, man. You says out of nowhere, Chris is rated now by the WBC. Holy shit, man. I guess it's WBC. But the WBC has always been favorable to Mexican fighters. Let's not, that's no secret. You know what I mean? So I think what they're doing is, I don't know how the fuck is he rated. Maybe they're giving him kudos for that slugfest he had with Kalnaki. I'm not sure. Damn, how the fuck is he rated? Let me see here. Ernest Terry, he says, let me do this for Ernest, man. I don't know how Ernest. Let me go ahead. Do that for you, Ernest. He says Tyson would have KO'd the young 70s George. He'd have got KO'd by the 90s. Ooh, you think so, Ernest? And you know what, man? Big and shouts out to Malik Scott. I follow Malik on I actually met Malik before the second Ortiz and Wilder fight in the MGM. Actually chopped it up about boxing in the damn back down there by the entryway where all the fighters come in. But shouts out to Malik. But Malik, on his page, he studies a lot of fighters and just certain moves that they use that some people look at as, oh, he's pushing. Well, no, he's actually pushing the guy away to set him up with something. You dig what I'm saying? So, Big George, what I'm trying to say is, Ernest, Big George, early years, he did a lot of fundamental things with his hands and his movement. George was a lot better moving than people gave him credit for. Man, if you go watch some of his sparring clips, George could move, throw combinations. He just in the fights, he would just come out and just knock people the fuck out. But he had a lot of subtle things that he did well that people don't give him credit for. Now, as far as you picking Tyson over a young George, I would still pick. I think George 70s or 90s would have beat Mike. 70s, 80s, or the 90s would have beat Mike. I just think it's just all wrong for him, bro. I think it's just all wrong for Mike. Neutral says, who taller, you or Malik? Hey, Reed, I appreciate that $5 holla. Who's taller between me and Malik? Shit, I think we're about the same height. I didn't take a picture with him that day. We didn't take picture of him, but I think we're about the same height. I think Malik about what, 6'4", 6'5"? You about the same height, bro. It was crazy that day too, man, because you guys, I know some guys, you look at some of us uploaders on here, like we just assume that this fighter knows us, that fighter. I don't think nobody knows me. You know what I'm saying? So when I go to fights, people say, hey, you're Mr. That should be surprising me, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. The first fight that I attended was the Wilder Fury first fight in Staples, and on the street the day before the fight, I'm going to the weigh-in or get to the weigh-in, and people knowing who the fuck I am, which was kind of crazy, man. Now some of the fellas we communicate on here, like my man Town Biz and the Boxing Voice, but just fans who I've never met before say that they sub to me was kind of crazy, man. So, but when it's fighters that recognize you, that was because when Malik seen me, I was like, oh, that's Malik Scott. And then he was talking to shout out to my man Lawrence Williams. Lawrence not in the chat, but he was talking to Lawrence Williams, who's a YouTuber on here. And I didn't know what Lawrence looked like in person, so I didn't know it was Lawrence at the time, but I could see Malik Scott. Malik's like, oh, Mr. Boxing today. I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know that dude knew who I was, man. And me, him, and Lawrence ended up chopping it up about how we thought the fight was going to break down. And I actually predicted a Wilder seventh round knockout. But that was some good shit by Malik, man, because we was in there, looked like me, he was about to fight, because we left there like, oh, I think he's going to do this with the jab. And Malik like, no, he's going to step around like this, but he got to watch out for this. And I'm like, okay, well, I think this happened, and this happened in the last fight. So shout out to Malik, man. Very down-to-earth cat. Let me see here. But yeah, neutral. I think I was probably a little bit taller or about the same height. Somewhere in there. Bruce Gold says sad but true, sad way to go out for such a nice guy. Quo says Gamboa beats Haney. Boy, you tripping. Quo, you tripping, man. Quo, hey, you saying some crazy shit up in here, man. Gamboa ain't beat no damn Devin Haney. Stop it, man. You know he ain't gonna beat no Devin Haney. You know that boy way too young, way too sharp, way too quick. You know what I'm saying? I know Gamboa got the Cuban background and he got the experience, but man, Devin Haney's too quick for him, man. And plus, Gamboa, boy, he come off Achilles injury. Sheesh, boy, that ain't just something you just overcome quickly. Um, Let me see here. Uh, Loma would beat Lopez in a rematch. He know what to do now. Quo says Loma would beat Lopez in a rematch. You know what to do now. Shit, what? Let me guess what you're gonna say. Start quicker, bro. The reason he didn't start, in my opinion, the reason he didn't start fast because he felt that damn power. He seen that quickness. He's seen the fast twitch of Lopez. So he was trying to break him down. He was trying to let him tire himself out. But if you think if you saying he know what to do now equals I'm just start fast and get rough, well, that fuck around and get you knocked out. That will fuck around and get you knocked out, man. My man Ernest says, "Oh man, Foreman had a better chin. Tyson would have been too quick." Yeah, I think he would have been too quick for the first few rounds until Foreman started holding him, grabbing him, pushing him back, being physical, hitting his ass back in his face and on his chin, and beating that speed up out of him, and then getting him up out of there. Around about 5, 6. I say about 5, 6. I say about 5 or 6. It may end up looking like that Round Loud fight. You know what I'm saying? Uh, my man Mala says, "See what George did to Frazier. Style make fights Foreman just a bad style for Mike Tyson." And look, bro, and to be honest with you, I think that Frazier, I think Mike was a better puncher than Frazier, but I think Frazier had a better motor than Mike. And he won't get discouraged as fast as Mike will get discouraged when he started to get pieced up a little bit. He won't get as frustrated as quickly. Frazier, you hit him with some good ass shots, he'll still at least try to attempt to come forward with the same output and the same, aggression and motor. You know what I'm saying? So if Big George is able to handle that and keep that in front of him, I don't see why he won't be able to keep Mike in front of him. And Big George had and Malik Scott broke this down in one of his videos, and I always said this, man, is that thing that Big George used to do when a guy, especially a guy like Frazier, you'll be in front of him, crouching and bending. Big George just stands there, literally, y'all, stands there, uses his hands, and just pushes you, and just push you. He just pushes you backwards, and then step off to the side. So he'll get you off balance, step off to the side, then boom, boom, and then here comes his big shots. Because now he didn't push you off balance. You're worried about getting back on balance. And while you're worrying about that, here comes big ass clubbing shots. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going with Big George on that one, man. Bruce Gold says Ariola in talks with Andrew Ruiz. Yeah, I heard that, man. They should have been fought. I've been talking about that one since about 2016, 2015. Them dudes should have been fought. That fight would have been a very good fight in Southern California, man. They should have been fought that fight. So to me, it's long overdue. Chris fighting Andy, well overdue. But it's gonna be an exciting fight. Action. It's gonna be very action packed. Um, Quote says Josh Taylor beats Lopez at 140. You think so? Ernest Terry says correct. Mala 2243 about the style. Old Foreman would have missed 90% of his punches, but the uppercut sleeps Mike. Yeah, man. It's just him crouching down in the end of that uppercut, and then Big George, and then a jab. Mike never. If you can put a jab on Mike and keep him at bay, we all know what that's going to do. And I think George would have found a way to get him up out of there. He said Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris Part 2. Well, shit, I'm going to go who won the first one. We know what happened the first time around, right? You know what I mean? Shit, I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar need his rematch too. But that's pretty much it, y'all. I just want to chop it up with y'all, man, about what I saw last night and chop it about a little bit this heavyweight stuff. My man Ernest says Bruce Lee versus Sho'nuff, the Shogun of Harlem. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm gonna go with the Shogun of Harlem, man. I think the setting they fought in the movie was in favor of Bruce. I think going to different rooms like that, I think it hindered Sho'nuff mobility when they had to go to when he was kicking his ass from in the warehouse from room to room. I think that stunted the Shogun of Harlem's moving around, man. So I'm gonna go with Shogun to win that, man. Seriously. And I think that girl and that old white man that had the girl, I think that was kind of throwing him off a little bit too, man. So I'm gonna go with Sho'nuff in the rematch. But hey, y'all, good chopping up with y'all, man. Getting some boxing talk in. Good fights coming up the remainder of this month. I'm definitely going to go live for the Usyk versus Chisora fight because I am interested to see how Usyk handles this pressure that Chisora is going to bring to him. I know Chisora is an older man, but one thing about him is you have to really keep him up off you, man. You got to put hands on him to keep him off. I think Usyk is going to win the fight, but I don't think it's going to be pretty. I won't be surprised if Chisora won, though. I just really wouldn't. But I'm going to put my money on Usyk because I think his mobility is going to give Chisora some hell. And I think he's kind of going to use what David Haye, hold on. I think he's going to use what David Haye did and what Ajay Kabayel did in that circle and use his hand speed and combinations. But hey, man, y'all be good. Till next time, I'm gone.